Bangladesh 2024. A nation simmering with unrest and frustration. The streets of Dhaka, once bustling with the hopes and dreams of its youth, now echo with the cries of disillusionment. The air thick with discontent, a palpable tension that could be felt in every corner of the city. The smog, a metaphor for the clouded future of its young citizens. At the heart of the unrest, a deeply flawed system. A system that promised equality but delivered disparity. A system that was supposed to be the backbone of a fair society but had become its Achilles heel, the job quota. Initially designed to uplift the disadvantaged, it had become a tool of manipulation and favoritism. What was meant to be a beacon of hope had turned into a symbol of corruption, favoring the connected, the privileged few. The elite, who had the means and the connections, thrived, while the deserving were left in the shadows. The gap between the haves and the have-nots widened. For the youth, the future seemed bleak. Opportunity, a distant dream. Resentment brewed, a storm was gathering. The young minds, once filled with aspirations, now harbored a growing sense of injustice. The spark came in July, a seemingly minor amendment, but it was the straw that broke the camel's back. The amendment, though small, was a glaring reminder of the systemic flaws. But for the students, it was the final straw, the breaking point. They had reached their limit. The amendment ignited a fire that had been smoldering for years. They had toiled, sacrificed, only to be denied their due. The countless hours spent studying, the sleepless nights, all seemed in vain. Their hard work, unrecognized and unrewarded, their voices silenced for too long. No more. They would be heard. The silent protests turned vocal, the whispers turned into roars. They demanded justice, equality, and a fair chance at their future. The streets would be their platform, their anger, their weapon. The youth of Bangladesh had risen, united in their cause. The world watched as they took a stand, determined to reshape their destiny. What began as a murmur grew into a roar. The voices of a few became the voices of many, echoing through the streets and alleys of Dhaka. From the university campuses of Dhaka, the protests spread like wildfire, reaching every corner of the city and beyond. The energy was palpable, the determination unyielding. Like wildfire, they engulfed the nation. Students at the forefront, their voices raw, untamed, their demands clear: justice, equality, a level playing field. The passion in their eyes was unmistakable, their resolve unbreakable. The job quota, just the tip of the iceberg. The world watched. Newspapers ran headlines, social media exploded, hashtags trended. The digital age amplified their cries, making it impossible to ignore. The plight of Bangladesh's youth resonated. Their faces, a mix of hope and desperation, told a story of a generation fighting for its future. This wasn't just about jobs, it was about dignity, respect, and the right to a fair chance. The systemic issues ran deep, affecting every aspect of their lives. It was about a system that had failed them, a system that promised much but delivered little. The frustration had been building for years, and now it had reached a boiling point. A government deaf to their pleas, a future stolen. The students stood firm, their banners held high, their voices unwavering. They were not just fighting for themselves, but for the generations to come. The students had ignited a fire for change, a fire that would not be easily extinguished. Their spirit, their determination, their unity, it was a force to be reckoned with. The world watched, and history was being made. Fear gripped the corridors of power. Sheikh Hasina, the Iron Lady, unyielding, her response swift and brutal. The streets, now a battleground, tear gas choked the air, rubber bullets flew, then the unthinkable. Live rounds, blood stained the streets of Dhaka. Mugdo, a name etched in the collective memory, a young man, his heart filled with hope, not hate, distributing water to his fellow protesters. A bullet found him, his life extinguished. A martyr was born, his sacrifice, a searing indictment of the regime. The crackdown backfired. Violence begets violence, but it also fuels resistance. The death of Mugdo, a turning point. Grief morphed into rage, fear into defiance. The students, now joined by ordinary citizens, farmers, teachers, shopkeepers, a nation united. The world watched in horror. Condemnations rang out, sanctions threatened. Still, Hasina remained defiant, but the tide had turned. The people had tasted freedom. They would not be denied. The pressure mounted. Something had to give. This wasn't your grandfather's revolution. This was Gen Z's fight. waged not just on the streets but online. Smartphones, their weapons, social media, their battleground. They bypassed censorship, exposed the truth, rallied support. They understood the power of the image, the viral video. They documented everything, the brutality, the courage, the resilience. The world bore witness, and it responded. Donations poured in. Celebrities amplified their voices. Politicians were forced to act. Generation Digital had found its voice, and it was deafening. The international community no longer able to ignore the cries for help. Human rights organizations condemned the violence. Governments imposed sanctions. The UN called for an investigation. The pressure on Hasina intensified, her grip on power weakening. The world had seen this before, David versus Goliath, the people versus the oppressor, and history had taught a valuable lesson. The human spirit, when ignited, is a force to be reckoned with. The tide of change was upon Bangladesh, and it was unstoppable. The unthinkable happened. Hasina, the seemingly invincible, crumbled. She fled, seeking refuge in the shadows, her reign over. The streets erupted in jubilation. A nation, battered but not broken, dared to breathe again. A new chapter had begun. Muhammad Yunus, Nobel laureate, a beacon of hope, stepped in. An interim government formed, the task ahead daunting, healing a nation, rebuilding trust, ensuring justice. But for now, there was hope. The spirit of Bangladesh, unbroken. Victory came at a price. Hundreds lay dead, thousands injured. The physical wounds would heal, but the emotional scars ran deep. The trauma of those dark days etched in the nation's psyche. Mugdo's face, forever young, a haunting reminder of the fragility of life, the brutality of a regime that had turned on its own people. The fight for justice far from over. The families of the victims demanding accountability, their grief a powerful motivator. Bangladesh stood at a crossroads, the path ahead fraught with challenges. Could the cycle of violence and repression be broken? Could true democracy take root? Could the dreams of a generation be realized? The world watched, cautiously optimistic. Would the international community provide the necessary support? Would the new government deliver on its promises? Or would Bangladesh slip back into the abyss? Only time would tell. The events in Bangladesh sent shockwaves across the globe, a stark reminder of the fragility of freedom, the importance of raising your voice, the power of collective action. The world took notice. From the streets of Hong Kong to the squares of Latin America, the message resonated. If the youth of Bangladesh could challenge a powerful regime, so could they. The fight for a just and equitable world had gained new momentum. The spirit of revolution reignited. The story of Bangladesh's 2024 student uprising is not just a tale of a nation's struggle. It is a vivid chronicle of courage, unity, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Thousands of students took to the streets, their voices echoing through the cities and towns, demanding change, demanding a better future. It is a testament to the indomitable human spirit. These young individuals, armed with nothing but their conviction and dreams, stood tall against the forces of oppression. Their speeches, filled with passion and resolve, inspired not just their peers but the entire nation. A reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, hope can triumph. That change is possible. The camaraderie among the students, their willingness to support and uplift each other, showcased the power of unity. Their hopeful faces, despite the challenges, were a beacon of light in dark times. That the fight for freedom is a relay race passed on from one generation to the next. The older generation who had fought their own battles stood side by side with the youth, passing on wisdom, strength, and a symbolic torch of resistance. Never forget the sacrifices made, the lives lost, the dreams shattered, and the families torn apart. Each candle lit at the vigils was a tribute to the fallen heroes, a promise that their sacrifices would not be in vain. Never forget the lessons learned. The slogans and signs carried messages of resilience, of lessons from the past, urging everyone to remember and to act. These reflections were not just about mourning, but about learning and growing stronger. Never again allow tyranny to prevail. The defiant faces in the crowd standing firm against riot police were a powerful statement. They were a declaration that the spirit of resistance would not be crushed, that tyranny would not find a foothold. The future belongs to those who dare to dream. In rooms filled with ideas and creativity, students brainstormed and planned, crafting signs that spoke volumes. Their dreams were not just for themselves, but for a better, more just world. To those who dare to fight, the clashes, the struggles, and the determined expressions were all part of a larger narrative. A narrative of bravery, of standing up for what is right, and of fighting for a future that holds promise. The spirit of Bangladesh lives on. In the voices singing the national anthem, in the flags being waved with pride, the spirit of the nation was alive and vibrant. It was a spirit that refused to be subdued in the hearts of its people. The faces of the students, filled with determination and hope, were a testament to the enduring spirit of the people. Community gatherings reinforced the sense of unity and shared purpose. In the echoes of their struggle, the empty streets, the remnants of the protests, and the graffiti on the walls were silent witnesses to the struggle. They echoed the voices of those who had fought and the dreams that had been ignited. A beacon of hope for a world yearning for change. The rebuilding efforts, the cleaning up, and the celebrations of small victories were all signs of resilience. They were a beacon of hope, not just for Bangladesh, but for a world yearning for change, for justice, and for a brighter future.